a cold February night in 2003, hundreds of people packed into the Station Nightclub for what was supposed to be a high-energy rock concert. The band had just taken the stage, lights flashed, and the crowd cheered, but within seconds, indoor pyrotechnics ignited flammable foam lining the walls. At first it looked like a harmless effect. Flames climbed rapidly toward the ceiling, smoke spread across the room, and confusion replaced excitement. Many didn't realize they were watching the beginning of a deadly fire, one that would turn a normal concert night into a race for survival. As the flames grew inside the Station Nightclub, thick black smoke filled the room almost instantly, visibility dropped to zero, and panic took over. People rushed toward the main entrance, the same door they had used to get in, creating a deadly bottleneck. Alternative exits were poorly marked or blocked. Some attendees became disoriented and collapsed from smoke inhalation. In less than a minute, the fire spread across the ceiling, trapping dozens inside. What shocked investigators later was how quickly the environment became unsurvivable, leaving almost no time for escape once the fire took hold. Within moments, the main entrance of the Station Nightclub became a wall of bodies. As terrified concertgoers tried to flee through the same narrow doorway, people fell, others climbed over them, and the exit collapsed into chaos. Smoke made breathing impossible, heat intensified, and screams echoed through the building. Some tried side doors they had never noticed before, others were trapped behind the human pileup. Later investigations revealed that many victims were found near exits, showing just how close they were to safety. But in those critical seconds, crowd panic and poor exit design turned escape into a deadly struggle. As the fire engulfed the Station Nightclub, emergency calls flooded local dispatch centers. Firefighters and paramedics rushed to the scene within minutes, but by the time they arrived, the building was already fully involved. Survivors stumbled outside, burned and disoriented, while responders pulled victims from the entrance pileup. The scene was chaotic, with smoke, sirens, and injured people everywhere. As the fire was finally brought under control, the scale of the tragedy became clear. 100 people had lost their lives and hundreds more were injured, making it one of the deadliest nightclub fires in American history. In the days following the fire at the Station Nightclub, investigations uncovered a chain of preventable failures. The soundproofing foam that fueled the flames was never approved for indoor use, the band's pyrotechnics had no proper permit, and occupancy limits were exceeded. Inspectors found that exit signage was inadequate and that many staff members had no emergency training. What shocked the public most was how many warnings had been ignored before that night. The tragedy wasn't caused by a single mistake, but by a series of decisions that allowed danger to accumulate, until one spark was enough to turn a concert into catastrophe. After the fire at the Station Nightclub, criminal charges and civil lawsuits followed. Prosecutors focused on who allowed unsafe conditions to exist, the nightclub owners, the band's tour manager who authorized the pyrotechnics, and inspectors whose oversight failed. Court cases revealed how responsibility was shared across multiple levels. Some defendants received prison sentences, others reached large financial settlements with victims' families, but for many survivors, no verdict felt sufficient to match the loss. The legal process highlighted a painful truth: accountability after a disaster can punish mistakes, but it can never undo the consequences of lives lost in just a few minutes. The fire at the Station Nightclub forced a nationwide reckoning on fire safety in public venues. Building codes were updated, indoor pyrotechnics faced stricter bans, and the use of flammable acoustic foam became heavily regulated. Clubs and concert halls were required to improve exit visibility, install sprinkler systems, and train staff for emergencies. The tragedy became a case study used by fire departments and safety agencies across the country, proving that meaningful change often comes only after devastating loss, and that regulations written in blood exist to prevent history from repeating itself. For those who escaped the Station Nightclub, survival did not mean the end of suffering. Many lived with severe burns, lung damage, and permanent disabilities, while others carried deep psychological trauma, nightmares, guilt, and memories of people they couldn't save. Support groups formed as survivors tried to rebuild their lives together. The fire became a dividing line, before and after, reminding the world that disasters don't end when the flames are out. Their impact continues for decades in the bodies and minds of those who lived through them. More than 2 decades later, the fire at the Station Nightclub remains a powerful warning about how quickly safety can be sacrificed for convenience, entertainment, or profit. The tragedy showed that disasters are rarely sudden, they are built through ignored rules, poor oversight, and small risks allowed to accumulate. Remembering what happened is not about revisiting horror for shock value, it is about understanding why safety regulations exist and why they must be enforced without exception. Every concert venue, every crowded space, and every emergency exit carries the lessons of that night. Because when warnings are forgotten, history has a way of repeating itself, turning ordinary moments into irreversible loss in a matter of seconds. Throughout this documentary, we witnessed how an ordinary night became a tragedy in a matter of minutes. Music, lights, excitement. And then fire, smoke, and silence. What happened at the Station Nightclub was not the result of bad luck, but of warnings ignored, rules broken, and safety treated as optional. Remembering this tragedy is not about reliving fear, it is about honoring the lives lost and protecting those who gather in crowded spaces today. Because every regulation exists for a reason, and every forgotten lesson carries the risk of repeating the same mistake. When we remember, we prevent. And when we ignore, history finds a way to happen again.